I consider natural resources a public operation since all you need to do is apply since all you need to do is apply time and effort to reap the benefits, and these things are freely given to all able. If corporations did the equivalent in the commercial sector, then we could go to, let's say, like a Walmart, apply to work, never be denied without extreme cause, get all the money that we earned minus business upkeep, but taken only after we work first. The worker would care for and work more often and harder because they work for their own salary. Since nobody would want to clean the bathrooms and having a specific job for that doesn't always work for Walmart, I can tell you that from experience. Mm. But if we paid more for the janitors, they may do a better job, and that money could come from monies or resources taken back from one after one has worked. Yes, of course, not paying to clean up your waste or pollution will keep prices low for customers and wages high for workers. But a true public company will show true responsibility to society as a whole, not just to its stockholders and customers. People always point to Russia as the reason why a public company or a government can't run business efficiently. They use this excuse to privatize everything from jails to all types of utilities and stuff. There are so many other reasons why Russia fell, but let's look at the differences in operation between the two systems. If situations arose that caused a private business to operate at a loss to recover, besides getting a loan, they would have to downsize, innovate, or restructure the business. A socialist or government operation in the same predicament could try these tactics as well. But an easy option would be to just take funding from other places, which could be a bad habit or it could be an altruistic service. To add, if you operate within a budget, it's hard to even count loss in the first place. Corporations or private companies have heads whose salaries most of the time are based off profit margins. Governments draw from a general fund and distribute budgets. So although a head may be paid high, they are less likely to get creative to drum up revenue. But on the flip side, they are less likely to do nefarious things to drum up revenue as well. Plus, to mention, most government offices don't generate revenue at all. They just get money through taxes. If we actually put the government to work gathering resources in conjunction with companies, Uncle Sam would get off his lazy ass and might have more money than he bums off us for some services unwanted. The government may also the government may have so many resources and funds that it won't need to collect taxes as much, if at all. We allow government to run if we allow When we allow government to run the commodities market, they will be able to keep commodity prices lower than private competitors. For one, they don't pay taxes to themselves, and privatized companies would have to factor that into their budgeting. Second reason is government can sell a commodity non-profit if need be, more so than a private company which may never do it. Besides the best price, the other product aspects are more or less the same. Um, Private companies will try to use as few resources and people in production as they can. Keeping the land public would put more money in more people's hands, which turns out to be better for the economy. In our current system, taxes paid to governments and companies are siphoned off to various offices and programs and services, though helpful, can't offer as great an impact as more employment. Imagine you work for a natural resource gathering company. You get paid a salary plus incentives for production, maybe. So the end of the day comes and you gather resources. They go to the company and are sold off, and a small portion of which is filtered back down to you. The rest went to business costs, R&D, administrative staff, and the rest to the CEO. Now a new day is upon us. The natural resources are all public lands and available to all. Now you choose your work hours while you share time slots with others. You complete a shift and transport your resources to a warehouse. Either you sell it or someone sells it for you. Either you pay them or you keep all the proceeds for yourself, minus upkeep of your business. So how did you make out? If you're using the same equipment that you use when you worked with the private company, you probably quintupled your profit. In fact, the only way one would work for someone else if you were free to work on your own in this industry is if they had the equipment or maybe organizational tactics you didn't have that produce greater yields, which would pay you more than your current means. Why else would someone do the same work and give all the proceeds to an overseer to receive the least for doing the real work as we do now? Maybe because you were fooled into thinking that this person owned this land and the resources under it. Think about how stupid that sounds and how naive you were for accepting that. So often some get taken advantage of, unaware of their rights, because of a mundane system that corrals people into places that benefits the few more than the masses. I hope we get it together. One day we will. After we receive privatization from our raw After we remove privatization from our raw material sources, all the companies and their employees have two options for work. They can continue their operations only now sharing the work with anyone else that wants to. They can also put their intelligence to work and actually produce something from their own. So far, all the administrative so for all the administrative staff that felt they were worth something, running industries that mainly consisted of digging up things, they have a chance to prove their worth and capitalize in the industrial and commercial sectors. We will essentially be changing roles as companies that once owned the lands force the public to venture off and find new revenue sources. Now the public controls the land, causing a company like Halliburton to maybe concentrate on oil refining instead of drilling. Lands we get commodities from would fall under the lines of socialism or communism, some may say. But I say it's more like a free natural state, and rightfully so. Capitalism will still go on when we implement this. I would go as far as to say it would get better. Lower cost and more abundant commodities would be the catalyst for lower cost and goods everywhere. Jobs would increase, unemployment will decrease. Giving more people spending power, increased production. Hold on. Giving more people spending power increases production and the happiness of society at large. What free resources does is empower everybody to provide for themselves and be entrepreneurs, strengthening capitalism and also strengthening socialism. In fact, this is the foundation for socialism and capitalism to reach their full potential, a fair playing ground. Socialism is people working in unison for each other's economic benefit, similar to communism, which is mandated by the government. Socialism was the foundation for all economic activity, from the family structure to when we were tribesmen in villages. We always depended on one another and shared our efforts in common. Because different resources were spread out in different areas, there was trade among other tribes and families. Governments stepped it up to offer a form of communism. If you are forced to work or work somewhere, it takes the dignity out of work for most people. But even without forcing anyone, the system has, as an overall exclusive means to government, takes the liberty away from someone to do what they want with their resources that they work for. Yet, if done willingly, there are many advantages to socialism or voluntarism. Working together, doing anything, will more than likely produce a better outcome than working alone. But I will restate, if done in force or coercion, stripping one of freedom, choice, or rights, it takes away from any other benefit a person might get. For all the reasons privatizing natural resources can hinder someone from meeting their personal needs, it also hinders a true socialist system from thriving as it should. First, a socialist camp is forced to work and then give the proceeds up to pay for land that isn't currently being used, whereas land is free. The new system will save people the time that it took to get the resources to pay for the land, and the resource money itself that was wrongfully paid to someone for something they didn't create. The next hurdle is by nature's design, so no system is to blame. You need every resource to be able to grow and thrive. But the lack of resource diversity in one area creates a scenario where we must create and trade our excess goods and or services to receive the other things the socialist group needs. This is called a cash crop product or what have you. The simplest reason why socialism can't thrive without free access to natural resources breaks down to this. We have people who work for profit versus socialists who will work to produce enough for everybody or to receive funds nonprofit. Our system, which forces integration, causes one who would work for free or fair value to purchase things off of others who inflate prices for profit, and this discourages the buyers because the group could have done it themselves for cheaper and just shared it. It also may produce like behaviors. This wouldn't be a problem if socialist groups were stationed at every resource. They would trade freely and without money, which is the true socialist way. But with natural resources in private hands, they will only but with natural resources in private hands, they will only produce the resource we need if we have collateral to trade. Now, if what the socialist group can offer isn't of value to others for them to trade back adequate resources to the group, why should the group be forced to produce a better valued product for people? The group can get the resource for free that is being held for ransom by the unrightful landowner, by physical efforts, and by freely trading with another willing socialist group near the site. It's that simple. There would be no way to make any physical product, never mind a better product, without the raw materials.